This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode does not contain spoilers, but does briefly mention Serpent and Dove, A Discovery of Witches, A Deadly Education, ACOFAE, and The Bridge Kingdom. For full list, please see show notes.
Everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the YA literature and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are discussing, Carrie Maniscalco's book, The Kingdom of the Wicked. This is the first of 3 of a trilogy. Yes. So the second one is Kingdom of the Cursed, and the third one that was announced is Kingdom of the Feared, which is very interesting. So this is the first book, Kingdom of the Wicked, and this is a reread for me. I have read the first 2, and this is a first time for Jess, and boy, do we have thoughts.
And this actually, we weren't initially intending on having an episode on this, but it became a lot of inquiring in our comments and our DMs asking if we had read it. If we had read it, were we planning on doing an episode? There was kind of, I don't want to say a demand, but it was just like some people were asking. So you know what? This podcast is for y'all. So we went and we did the thing and we read, and here we are.
And here we are. So listeners, thank you for this. We probably are not going to say what you expect us to say about this. So, Jess, how about you start off?
Well, let's give a little recap. I feel like, okay, Kingdom of the Wicked is a story based in Italy about an Italian family, 2 twins, or like one set of twins, sisters, and one of them is murdered. And the family the sisters come from are from witches. And now it's about the journey that the sister finds herself trying to find her sister's murderer, and how magic comes into play. I mean, I know that's not exactly the plot, but that's just a little bit of background.
I want to be very upfront. I've said this on TikTok too, and I told Jess when we were prepping for this episode that I can be the villain here. I don't like this book. I've read the second one. I called the plot for the second one in like the 3rd chapter. This book just doesn't hit for me. And I was really worried that because Jess knew that opinion that I had, that it would color your opinion or influence you or whatever. But you reassure me over and over again that is not the case.
Because I had to do a self-evaluation for myself to think, okay, am I going into this with different expectations? Because Laura has been the only person who hasn't, I don't want to say you're the only person. I feel like you've been the only person that I've seen open about your opinion on this book. A lot of other opinions I've seen, super positive, love it, obsessed. This Wrath is like their book boyfriend. Like they love this couple, which is great for so many people. I'm happy when other people are happy, when they just find what works for them. It doesn't have, I just get excited because I like that excitement because I have it for my own things. Laura, I was like, do I not care for this book? And then I remember that I read The Bridge Kingdom, which you're not a huge fan of, but you're okay with it. And I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I was into it. So that's how I was like, okay, we're good. I wanted to like this so much. It reminded me of our Serpent and Dove episodes, where if you list everything out broody male, strong female, witches, vampires, shapeshifters, Italy, everything on paper, even cooking. I don't mind the kitchen. On paper, it's great, but reading it didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like, I feel like that's what we need this episode for, to like work it out, because why all these things that I love so much, why didn't it do it for me?
Okay, so I was telling Jess, listeners, this is to you directly. I was telling Jess, so I have the same feeling that I had when I finished Deadly Education, when I finished The Shadows Between Us, when I finished A Discovery of Witches, and what was the other one? Do you remember?
A Shadow Between Us?
No, I said that one. There's another one. It'll come to me when I'm not thinking about it. But that Rhapsodic. And like that kind of like meh feeling that I have is the same feeling that I have here. So if listeners, if you can like analyze, like what is it about all of those books that I just listed that don't hit for me, and tell me, that would be really helpful so that I can just, kind of know that about myself, because I cannot pick it out, because just as you say, on paper, everything is there. Everything is there, except like I hate cooking. I hate being in the kitchen. So right away, those pages and pages of kitchen descriptions I feel like, and I love Italian culture, and obviously it's very similar to like my Spanish upbringing, where I know family, everything centers around the kitchen. Like food is its own love language. I even had a friend growing up, her grandparents came over from Italy and they opened an Italian place in like a tourist town down south. And when we would go to like on summer breaks and stuff, we were the kids behind the counter, like being the host and bringing the water. And it was a very mom and pop place, and I loved it. So I've always been around that, Italian culture. And it was, like I said, it's very similar to Spanish culture. So I had even said to you, I go, okay, I know that you had kind of glossed over it and it's not relating to you, but let's take all the details and the kitchen stuff out of it. Pretend it's not even there. And I understand, acknowledging that there is an importance of the culture in the world building to expose the reader to, because We Hunt the Flame is very much like that too. We have that heavy world building detail to something that we're not accustomed to. Here we are with something we are accustomed to, and we're like, meh, we can put it on the wayside. But okay, take that all out of the picture. Like, we still have this plot and the death of a sister and spells going wrong. What do we get with that? It just does not work for me. The chemistry isn't there between Emilia and Wrath. It's not there.
I feel like that's like a hot take. Everybody's gonna yell at us.
I know. Well, that's okay. Everyone can yell at me. That's fine. Right. I'm the villain in this episode. It's not there. Like,
I don't disagree with you. We had that conversation before we started recording. You know how we get with the forced. We get with the found family trope, but it gets drilled in all the time. I feel like that's what this feels like.
Now, I'm not saying that Wrath isn't hot. Obviously, objectively, the fan art, yes. I love the gold eyes. I love the tattoo. I love the lavender. I love the flowers of the tattoo, and it's like iridescent.
Glowy, yeah.
Yeah, like I love it. All those elements, perfect. Like, he's gorgeous. Okay. Like, he's particular about his clothes. Perfect. All these things. But this banter that he has with Emilia, demon, witch, that whole thing, I don't buy it. I don't buy.
Do you think it's like their version of witchling, princeling?
Yeah, no, definitely. And
it did not come across like that.
Yeah, no, and it just here's the thing, really. I'm supposed to relate to Emilia and to feel wrath, right? To feel anger and to want to have vengeance and like all of these emotions. I'm supposed to like feel all of these things with her. And I do not feel anything with her except for like kind of annoyance when she's like, I don't know why he came for me. Oh, he saved me. Like, oh my God, duh. Oh, the betrayal. Like, oh, the betrayal. Oh, we're all shocked about the betrayal. Like, what?
What are you talking about with envy?
Yeah. Oh. God, like, I don't know. But I mean, by the time the twist happened, I was already checked out. But you know, I just don't. It's just not here for me. It's just not here for me. That is not to say that I don't love the strong female like representation that we get here. We get we get grandma, we get the sister, we get the restaurant. You know, I hate cooking, but I like food, so that's a whole thing. We get Sicily. We have all of these things. I can see it. That's the other thing too. Like I can see this like clearly in my head. Like the world building is not like falling flat because it's working. I can see it in my head. I'm just not caring about it. So there's a disconnect there and I can't pinpoint why.
And it's not because you don't like you enjoy Italy too.
Yeah,
it's not it's not like, oh, well, I can't relate. No, it's I want nothing more than to relate and immerse myself in this. You know, been fortunate enough to travel to a variety of countries, and Italy has been the country that I have like this affinity and like kindred connection to, more than like the fact that my great grandparents came from Spain. I'm like, oh, sorry, grandma and grandpa, like Italy's what's up for me. I want nothing more than to be a part of it, and I just don't get to.
No, and there's witches and like as you said, and witch hunters, and the church and like men, going after the women. It's the same thing, kind of like we had in Serpent and Dove, but it's just not. It's not there. And I also don't feel this sisterly bond between Vittoria and Emilia the same way that, or I guess the way that I'm supposed to, right? Because we learned that Vittoria set up all these deals with all these demons, and she lied about stuff, and she had this spell book, and she did all of this stuff that she didn't tell you about. So like, I don't know. It is not there for me. I can see why people would love this. I can see very clearly why people would love this because whatever isn't working for me is working for them, and and the connect is there.
And not a small group of people either. Like people are hungry for the series enough so that it almost seems like she's had released a book every year. Like I think this came out in 2020. The next one came out, Kingdom of the Curse came out in 2021. And then the third one is going to come out next year. So she's a powerhouse to get them out there. So people want it, and I guess that's my question to know the why. I don't want to say the why if people want it, but I do, because that sounds so awful, but I do want to know what the things that aren't working for me, like you said, what is working for the other people that this story has drawn them in to have that connection, that they have an affinity for this trilogy at this point.
Oh, I remember it was The Four Horsemen by Laura Thalassa. That's another series that people like.
She's did Rhapsodic, right?
Yeah. That's the other series that people like, where I'm just like, bleh about. So that maybe lump that in when you're trying to like analyze me and tell me what's wrong. So what does work? What does work? What does work? Strong women work here. And the magic system works here.
I love the magic system.
And
again, just like I feel like we keep referring back to Serpent and Dove, I love that they say in this book, and it's very similar to the other trilogy, of it's not, magic isn't good or bad, it just is, and you need to have equal offerings. Like and this one I noticed, they did the like, but if you're using it for like negative energy kind of thing, it's going to come back 40 times. And it reminded me of our craft episode where we're like, it comes back 3 times.
The magic system is good. I like how Wrath says that like the demon princes of hell aren't good or evil. They just are. They just exist. They're just kind of like power, you know, and like the only currency there is like more power and you know, that whole thing. I like that Wrath is particular about his clothes and he doesn't want to wear the shirt that she gives him. He'd rather go shirtless.
If I had a body like that, I
know,
wouldn't
right?
want to wear a shirt either.
For real. I like that he, you know, picks out clothes for Amelia and he has them in the rundown palace that they're in. You know, there are things that I enjoy. It's just not there for me. And the chemistry isn't there. I don't know. I feel like I just don't have a lot to say. It's the family structure, but like grandma is the one that has the magic, right? So she's the one that, because mom doesn't have magic. Grandma has the magic and she's the one teaching the twins, and
she's really the matriarch of the family, not the mom.
Yeah. And she's like powerful and she has her moment, right? Where she banishes envy and like sends him back. And I do like that. Here's something that I don't like. I don't like, family members not telling other family members the entire truth because they think that
they know
they're
it's
like,
best.
Yeah, that they're like shielding them. And like if the grandma had a conversation with the two of them when they were like this old, then none of this would have happened, right? Like I just, you know, it could have all been avoided and it would have been weird. It would have gotten weird. But it would have gotten weird and they could have handled it together instead of grandma getting her throat slit and Victoria being murdered and her heart getting slit. Okay, sorry, I'm on it. This is another thing. In the scheme of things, okay, you have 7 demon princes of hell that are like visiting this little town in Sicily, and they are ripping out witch hearts in this like area in Sicily, right? You have the whole world, and all of like hell. But it's like, no, we're all gonna go. I don't know. It was just like
these are the only witches for us.
Yeah, but you know, okay, fine. They're like, you know, they're star witches, all, you know, shadow witches, all that stuff. It's just like, I was so not into it, and it required such a like suspension of belief that I just could not.
I just kind of followed it. You know, I couldn't ask questions. I knew what was going to happen. Oh my gosh, envy is envious. What a turn of events. I'm like, it's literally in his name. Why is anybody surprised? And even with the grandma, she's like, you're going to tell me the truth now after seeing the marriage bond tattoo on Amelia. And also it's like, well, that's kind of your fault too, because again, to what you said, we wouldn't be here if you told us everything that was going on.
Yeah, because here's the thing. She's not a child.
No, she's 18.
Yeah, she's not a child. Like, this conversation could have been had, like, realistically, what, like 13?
Yeah, 13. I would think 13.
13 would have been fine.
Age. Yeah.
Yeah. 13, you know, BT dubs, you're wearing the devil's horns, and this is going to happen because you're like prophecy babies.
And I feel like they gave them the bare minimum. You have gold, you have silver, don't connect them.
Yeah, like,
and so they're just
okay.
Yeah,
and
also,
of course they
don't
do
push the red button.
Yeah, and of course they do when they're 8. They put them together, you know. So yeah. It's like it's just this whole thing. I don't know. I feel like Amelia did a lot of like scavenger hunting around her little town, you know, like, oh, there's stocks with fennel. I'll rub this thing and go in here, and these magical objects will speak to me, and I'll touch this nail or hook or whatever. You know, it was just a lot of stuff like that. Or like, the gambling den is a frog, and I need to locate the frog emblem, and woo.
You remember more than I do. I feel like Will Ferrell in Old School, where he just like blacks out.
She's got Wrath on all these little adventures, and then they go and interrogate all these people, and then
Well, okay, let's talk about Wrath. Why does she hate him so much? She fucked up the spell. Why is she pissed at him? Hold some accountability.
They are mortal enemies.
Why?
I think she's just really angry because she saw him. He was the first person that she saw with her sister's body. So she like incorrectly assumed that he killed her.
I would have made the same.
Yeah, fair.
In that moment,
fair.
yeah.
Yeah, fair. But upon learning that that's not what happened, she still is like, and my mortal enemy like died in front of me. I don't know. She shivers a lot. I don't know if you picked up on that. There's a lot of shivering here.
But now that I remember her grandma would tell her stories of, the deadly sins, the princes of hell, whatever. But that was all, like, to me, that was just stories. Okay, there was miscommunication. She thought he killed her sister. He didn't. Now they're working together. Now you still want to be pissed at him. I just feel like it's the Rhys controversy of when Rhys didn't tell Feyre that they were mates because he was allowing her to come, like, he didn't want to force her choice to feel like she was obligated to him when she was very upset at him for like half of ACOFAE. And now we're at the point, here we are with Wrath and Amelia, where he didn't want to call that in. Like, she fucked up a spell. He recognized it. And even at the end, he didn't call in the bargain because he wanted her to have the choice. Albeit he was like, you're fucking up. You're making the wrong choice. But he still wanted her to come to that. He was good to her.
And he said, like, over and over again, like, you're choosing this, like, choice is really important. Even if you feel like you don't have a choice, you do, even if the options aren't good. Like, he says that, like, over and over and over again. Like, choice is very, very, very important. So I don't know. Here's the thing. People love this book so much that no one talks about anything about it except how wonderful it is.
I wonder, how maybe we talked about it on our anniversary episode, but we talk about, like, I had like an affinity towards romance. Would I ever bring the things that I like would I recommend them to you? No, because they're not what you like. And then we even extended that conversation of the romance that I was reading before. I didn't feel like, I was like, do I like the books? Yeah. Could I pull a substantial conversation out of it? No, but I liked them. Like, it's like that TikTok sound where they go like, is the book good? Did everybody, a lot of people read like all 500 Ice Planet Barbarians? Sure. Were they great? But are you going to recommend it? No. Are you still going to read it? Hell yeah. Like, that's what it is. I know I love romance but that doesn't mean I can pull a conversation out of it. Maybe that's what this is. And maybe because I was looking for more, maybe that, I don't know. I don't know. I want to love this so bad.
I will say that there is more content to pull in the second book, so I'm looking forward to that. But in this first one, there just isn't a lot. It makes me want pockets. It makes me want skirts with pockets and Moonblessed chalk, because I swear that's what she's always reaching for, and she never freaking has it. I
have a frustration. That's kind of funny to say for this whole episode. She's angry. She's going through these stages of grief, which, I just can't. I don't want to say I can't relate to grief, because that's not it. I can't relate to how it's being described in this book. But when she goes and she's like, about Antonio, and she goes, I scared the piss out of him. I smell urine. I'm going to be like, she has this wrathful vengeance, and then she lets him go. What? You killed my sister. How vengeful are you? I mean, unpopular opinion, and maybe this just speaks to like my Capricorn sun and Virgo rising. I am not a fan of the expression, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Because then you wouldn't, because then you must not have a worst enemy, because I absolutely fucking would.
Yeah. And the way that this book ends too is when she's like, when I hope that they're ready for a vengeful queen. It's like, what have you done exactly?
I was laughing.
What have you done exactly?
What?
You haven't done anything. You looked at a dress. You looked at a spinning dress, like pages, like paragraphs of descriptions about the scales of the spinning dress that's been hung up from nowhere that's next to her. And like, oh my God. It's just like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. The only time that I kind of related to her emotions when she, when Wrath was like, quote, quote, killed in front of her, right? And she was just like, I didn't realize I kind of liked him. And it's like shocking. And she finally has her like aha moments where the reader's like, oh my God, finally. That was like, all right, fine. We're finally all on the same page here. You have complicated feelings for this like demon. Okay, fine. We can all move forward together. Of course, that doesn't really happen though. Listeners, I'm sorry. What did you want us to pull from this? There is much more to pull in the second one. So, stay tuned for that one. But like Jess, like the first time reader here,
and last time.
Ooh, hot take. Fine words.
I'm sorry. Okay, let me pull out some of the good stuff.
Yes.
And it's going to be no surprising why this is one of my favorite quotes of the whole book, is when Amelia's caught at the church or wherever she is with Wrath, and she gives him a fake name, and he says something about being my Amelia. And then the little shit runs to her house to be like, oh, Amelia was with a boy. And the mom was like, I don't fucking care what you're doing. Thank God your father wasn't home. One, fair. And number two, she goes, but he's just as besotted with you. And she goes, he's calling you my Amelia, and you're no one's but your own girl. Of course. I loved that part. I get it. I love that part. LOL on her mom. But like Amelia's also like, I'm so embarrassed. She's more embarrassed that her family thinks that she's sleeping with this hot dude than like avenging her sister's, like going and doing all these spells that she's not supposed to be doing, that she keeps messing up. So be that as it may. And I also liked when Wrath is giving her life lessons to be like, you got to know your enemies. Look for their weakness. If you give them everything, you put all the cards in their hand. And so then he starts trying to kind of teach her through like playing poker, if you will. I'm just going to say poker. I think it's just like an Italian variant or something. Variation, not variant. Oh my God, it sounds like COVID. But he goes, you need to trust in yourself and your own power. And I like that he's like, everybody's like instilling that on her, that you're your own person. You have your own powers. You need to rely on yourself and what you're capable of. And I do like that message is that message is consistent throughout the book, whoever the player is and wherever the conversation is coming from.
We haven't talked about Claudia. The
friend.
The friend who gets her mind stuck between worlds because she does Amelia a favor. And
Amelia fucking everybody up.
Yeah, and then she's like stuck rambling and stuff. And they are like dark witches. They're like death witches, and they're like not supposed to hang out and like be, but they're friends, and it's this whole thing. We haven't talked about her at all. They are a kind of weird representation of friendship, I feel like, because they both have very significant deaths in the family, but they like don't like comfort each other, They both say like, we just didn't. It's like, oh.
They didn't acknowledge anything.
Yeah, I was like, okay, y'all. All right. Moving on. Good. Healthy. Let's do dark magic. All right.
I mean,
Fair, okay. I mean, okay. It was just one of those weird things because it's such like a focus on like Amelia and like all these things that she's going through, and like here's her friend, like, you know, needing a little bit of help here, and she's like, yeah, but also, so that was really something.
They had your favorite thing, the palm slicing.
Oh,
for
the palm
cannoli.
slicing for cannolis. Oh my gosh. Like, what even is that?
I mean, I like cannolis too, but not enough for a palm slice.
Although there is a part in this book where Amelia cuts her like arm or her forearm, and she does say because she's going to need her hands in the kitchen. And I was just like, okay, yes, thank you. Praise be. Because
Can you imagine garlic and onions and
lemon juice? Like, oh my gosh, no. So I did appreciate that little practicality there. But it's just, I don't know.
I like the fairy wine. I call it fairy wine, but when, the Prince of Lust comes into play.
Oh,
and
yeah,
she's
on the
like
beach,
all like
yeah.
ripping off her clothes, and like she's about to rip his off, and you know, he's like, you have to take control of this, and she's like, I just want to get you naked, and he goes like, well, if you still think about that when we get home, like we'll talk about it then. And then when she finds out that oh, it's just underlying emotions too, she's so in denial. Why
are we in denial about this? Why are we in I don't know. Amelia doesn't really have a strong support system. That might be another hot take because like Claudia isn't really there for her. Her mom is kind of in the background. Her grandma lies to her and only helps her at the end.
Well, I think also with her mom, they acknowledge that her, like, the way her mom is handling the trauma and grief, like grieving and trauma of the loss of her sister. There are a lot of times where the grandma, they would be in the kitchen and they would say like her mom was kind of like tuned out, or she would look to her mom for backup. Be like, right, mom? And the mom wouldn't respond. So she's kind of handling her own grief. So that's another example of the grandmother just furthering her role as the matriarch in the family.
Right. And yeah, and there, there's all these things about, okay, here's a positive. I have a positive. Here's a positive. This is a good audio experience. I enjoyed this audio experience. It has the interesting little, features of audio, so when the witches are doing spells, there's lots of voices chanting the spells, and there's wind, and there's like little bumps and stuff, and I enjoyed that.
I wish there was more of it. I feel like it wasn't consistent. It was just, like,
yeah.
Scattered.
Yeah, but it was, when it was there, it was fun because towards the end, when they're building up tension towards the end, the music starts to swell. I was looking around. I was like, where is this? But I took my headphones out and I was like, oh, duh. But yeah, so the audio experience is good. The narrator's pretty good, and she's the same narrator in the second one, so she's pretty good. That's what it is. That's what it is. And I know listeners, you really love this and you really wanted us to do this. Sorry. I'm the bad one here. It's not for me. It's not for me. I do see how, as I said, how many, like a lot of people would love this. A lot of people do love this. We did the Google here, and, not a lot of negative reviews, not a lot of,
but there wasn't a lot of I feel like the reviews were just, they weren't negative, they weren't positive, they just, it felt more of recaps than reviews. They just were.
Yeah.
And I even tried to get to a subreddit to be like, Reddit Kingdom of the Wicked, and I did not see, I don't know what it would be called, like a Reddit tag for it. And I was like, I tried so hard to be with the people.
Yeah, it's one of those things. And I feel like maybe on Book Talk is where you see the kind of love for Wrath, but I don't see any love for Amelia.
Question with Wrath. I was thinking, how everybody kind of shits on, we're talking about Beauty and the Beast with Belle.
Mm-hmm.
You know how people, we'll say like, well, really it's Stockholm Syndrome. She was up in this tower. Can it be said that Wrath, there was perhaps a Stockholm Syndrome with Wrath because he was connected to her and then he fell for her? could that argument be made? I was thinking about that.
That argument can be made in this first book, yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes, in this first book. Yeah, because and then there's the joke. Everyone's like, well, how long would it take? Like for me, for Stockholm Syndrome, how long? A couple hours, For him,
it would, I always joke where people are like, oh, a couple hours, a couple minutes. I feel like for him, it would take him, because he just didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
I would have been like, if it's like Reese or Cassian or, so like I would easily, or Castile, I'd easily be like, what's Stockholm Syndrome? I never had it. I was here.
Yeah, because the banter feels like...
You consider it banter? I don't even feel, I love a banter. I don't feel it.
No, I have a visual like kind of description for this. So like the banter for like Jude and Carden or like Reese and Feyre, that banter feels like throwing a ball back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
This banter felt like two people playing darts. There wasn't a back and forth. It was just like a hit. And then it was
turn and then it's hit.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that visual. Thank you for that. That's
I have been trying to think so that people don't just say like, oh, well, ACOFAE just like really didn't do this justice. I have been really trying to think, and that is the only thing that I can think of. So instead of like a give and take or like a nice game of catch between two people where they're both kind of, leaning in and catching and doing it. For this, it is just like really flat. It's just like something sharp and it hits, and that's it. Right? There is no soft kind of flirt give and take. It's just kind of like hit.
And that's it. Like, when I think of banter, I think of that, catch and throw kind of relationship. So to not have that, I immediately was like, what banter? I didn't even think that there was until you said, well, this is the type of banter in the writing style that it is. It's just interesting. It's different.
Yeah. So that's what I've kind of been thinking of. There isn't a lot of give and take there. So.
Okay. So I'll ask this as we go into the second book. Is the tone the same? Is the style the same? Because as of right now, obviously we're going to do an episode on the second book. And if we weren't going to do an episode, I probably wouldn't keep reading this. So is there a shift?
Okay, this might be a hot take. So, I have my little shovel. I've just been digging little hills over here, just building them up for myself. So I have all these little hills over here that I'll just hop on and die from, so. Okay. Is the second book, what is it? Kingdom of the Cursed. Is it the same in tone? No. I feel personally that the next book in this series is a dramatic and unexpected shift into almost NA territory in spice level, which is arguable. Spice and spice descriptions. Let me just say that, descriptions of things. And in just the overall language, there's a lot more cursing and swearing and just like stuff like that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if there's that drastic of a shift.
Yeah.
Because the way I'm thinking about it is like, ACOFAE is spicy. Like, I think it's spicy. And it was definitely I was blushing the first time I read it. But I also didn't feel like there was a shift from ACOTAR series should have never been YA. But I also don't think that there was really a shift from ACOTAR series to like the inclusion of ACOFAE. There were spicier scenes. There were a lot more fluids. But the hilt and the roaring and all the things were still there. Just like the other. I mean, the moans from the dying men of the tent still existed in Echo War.
Yeah, it's just like a big shift, and I wasn't expecting it. And I just looked up the cover on on the audio.
The covers are great. I like the covers.
I wanted to see if James Patterson's name was on the second one because I feel like the second one is a little, a bit more NA, a little spicier, a little more language, but it still is. So, maybe that's not a thing.
What's his contract? I tried to understand that a little bit more. It says James Patterson is it like he's kind of putting his money towards the project of this? I couldn't find it.
I have no idea. And that's an excellent question. So listeners, if you know the answer, please tell us. Because I feel like maybe he's like sponsoring them, or like maybe he has like his own little, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because when I tried looking it up, it would say like, it's like, I just typed in like James Patterson Presents, and then it gives me Kingdom of the Wicked. It gives me Kingdom of the Cursed, but I don't get the, people have said like, well, did he write it? And then, I don't really have a concrete answer.
Let's see if we're going back to the second book and what to expect in the second book. So the end of this first book, she is on her way to
hell.
Yeah.
Well, to the Kingdom of the Wicked, to the house, the Pride's house, the House of Pride.
So she's going there, and Wrath is escorting her. So the second book like picks up, and like it's that, and it's just like her time there. And it's very like Court of Nightmares vibes.
Oh, cool.
So I mean, yeah, like
I'm always down for that.
Yeah, there's a lot to pull from there. It's pretty interesting. So I'm looking forward to the second one and reading it critically. But yeah, this first one. I know. I feel bad. So someone please analyze everything that I said and tell me. I must know.
I wish there was more of a dialogue on TikTok for these conversations, or like on Bookstagram, because I feel like people will post their reviews, and I don't want to go into somebody's comments to be negative, because I don't want it to come across that like I'm trolling, or I honestly want to have a conversation. And the problem that I'm fearful of is having a difference of opinion could be kind of perceived as attacking. And that's never how I want it to come across. I genuinely want to say, and especially with text, it's the very prevalent miscommunication trope. You text one thing, how it's perceived and how it's read in your head can be completely different than my tonal that we can have in a conversation. And that's genuinely like, look, I don't know what it is about this book. I want to like it so much. Please share me your insight of why you love it. And for all I know, it could be like how I said with like some of the romances that I read. Do I love it? Absolutely. Could I tell you why? Not a clue.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Everyone loves this book so much on like Book Talk and Bookstagram that if you have a difference of opinion, it's an attack, and people just attack you, and it's like, no, I really but it's just like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is my book boyfriend, and like, this is my, and I understand the passion. Of course I do. Obviously. Right. Obviously I understand the passion, but like, we're adults. Let's act like adults. Let's have respect, and let's kind of, talk it out so that you can, identify things, right? And like use those to make informed decisions about the content that you read in the future. Like that's what we're trying to do. I'm not trying to start a fight in someone's comments. Like I still don't understand people that do that.
Well, and it reminds me of with our anniversary episode, we even said like, what's something that's really wonderful about books is you kind of get to discover yourself too, and what you like, what you don't like, whether it's you personally as a person. Like I remember you had made a TikTok. You go, I realized something about myself today. I'm not a fan of first person. Mm-hmm. Like you had, and it, it was such a specific thing that how many first person reads do we read regularly? And you finally had that click. And maybe that's why it's exciting to have these conversations, because we've even had episodes where I'm sure I started off with one opinion and I go, wait, that's a good point. And it's kind of brought me back to a different opinion. Because we were able to talk it out. And that's the only thing that I'm fearful of, is sometimes people can get away and forget that talking it out with a difference of opinion doesn't mean it's a negative thing. You can have a constructive conversation and not be disrespectful.
Yeah, and not be disrespectful, but I don't feel like any of our listeners would be disrespectful, because y'all are the best, and you're always like so nice in our DMs and stuff, and you're so sweet, and thank you for sharing all of your like wonderful milestones and everything, like all your news and everything. It's really wonderful. So thank you so much for that. I have nothing left to say here. I am sorry.
Well, I guess then we can just start Kingdom of the Cursed and,
Yeah. Might as well start
Just
it
go
right
from there.
away. Yeah.
So feel free to follow us. We're both on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura and ACOFAE Jessica. You could also follow us on Instagram. We're at ACOFAE Podcast. And if you are feeling generous, please feel free to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts for us. Thanks for listening.
And Spotify
You
now.
can review on Spotify now?
You can review on Spotify now. So check that out. That is a new feature that they just notified us, podcast makers, of. So hopefully by the time this episode is out, it will be rolled out for you, the listener. So check it out on Spotify and leave us a review there as well.
Thanks, everyone. And we'll talk to you soon. Please don't hate us.
Don't hate us. Love you. Bye.
Bye.